When was the first time that you remember the big promise of VR? It still seems like yesterday was being pitched as this next big thing and how it's going to replace regular gaming as we know it. While that clearly isn't the case, what I think VR has the benefit of being is an experience, something that you can't get while playing a normal video game. PlayStation has made attempts with the most recent PSVR headsets, but that hasn't seen really much adoption over the course of the past couple of years. Meta has been trying to reduce that barrier to entry. And over the holiday break, I was gifted a Meta Quest 3S by my mother and sister, not sponsored. So that came with Batman Arkham Shadow, which was a ton of fun to play so far. I've played about an hour or two of that. But the game that we're here to talk about today is Half Life Alyx. I should also probably mention that I haven't touched any of the previous Half Life games. I did claim them back during the most recent anniversary event, but after playing Half Life Alyx, that might have been accelerated. I grabbed Half Life Alyx on the most recent Steam Summer Sale for about $20 because I'd heard if you own a VR headset, this was the game to play, and damn right those people were.
Combined channel's really picking up. They know you're coming. You need to get out of here, now.
As I do with all my reviews, I like to start them out with a little bit of a technical block. I went ahead and I played this game using the MetaQuest 3S wirelessly through the Steam Link function, running the game at high fidelity on an RTX 4080 and an i7-13700K. There isn't going to be much in terms of other PC settings that you can mess with besides choosing one of four modes, and for the most part, the game ran pretty smooth on my end. There were times where it did dip or stutter, but it was never anything that was ruining the experience or the time that I was having with the game. And I say that because this game might ruin other VR games for me, just due to the sheer interactability that you have within this game. Nearly every object that you can see can be picked up, moved, thrown, tossed around, juggled, whatever you want, whatever you can think of, you can do it. And I think one of my favorite things to do in this game was just grabbing items, picking up packaging, trying to read whatever was on it, whether that's a food packaging, it's water flavored, or you've got a newspaper that you can read the byline, you can read what was going on. And while this doesn't have anything to do with the gameplay per se, what it does is it allows you to get immersed within the world, making you feel like, yes, you're the one walking around, you're the one experiencing everything. And that's what a VR game is supposed to do. One of my favorite things is early on, you're introduced to the gravity gloves. You get those and you can pull different objects to you. And one of the favorite things that I like to do was pulling any bottles to me, grabbing them, throwing them, breaking them, acting like I'm chugging them. It was really fun to just kind of toss them because, yeah, when you're a kid or when you're younger, you like to pick up bottles and you throw them and break them. It's cool. And now you get to do it without the cleanup or the mess. And these gloves aren't just going to be for messing around either. You can use them to pull ammo to you, different materials that you can use to then upgrade all your different weapons. And I also want to mention this isn't going to be a short little romp that you can finish in about a couple hours. Half-Life Alyx is, at least for me, it took roughly 10 to 12 hours. That's also depending on how much you want to explore the different levels that you can work through. There isn't going to be much in terms of exploring, but there's maybe going to be a little room here where you can get some different materials, or if you just want to mess around and see what you can interact with in the world as well. And from the moment that you hit play on this game, you're dropped into your first scene, and the words out of my mouth and probably many others was holy shit. I think I stood on that balcony for maybe 5 to 10 minutes just looking around at the world. You get the giant tower looming in the distance, a mini tripod machine walking around, and then you've got a flying ship. It's all sensory overload. It's like when you give a kid an iPad for the first time and they don't know what to do. While the levels in the game aren't going to offer up much in terms of exploring or diverging from that main path, what they do offer up is the ability for you to find ammo, health stims, and other goodies along with maybe an optional puzzle or two. Most of this stuff can be stored in your backpack, which is done by reaching over your shoulder. And then if you want to grab anything from the backpack, say like an ammo clip or something, you basically do the same motion with that weapon out and it'll automatically do that. Some items like health stims and grenades can't be stored in your backpack, so you have to put them in sort of these little wrist storages that you can access in the middle of combat and use. In this game, you play as Alex Vance as you try to track down your father after he's captured early on in the game, and you do have a couple side characters along the way that pop up, but for majority of the time, it's going to be you, and then you've got Russell, who's going to be on the comms. He's your tech guy helping you out along the way. The narrative of the game was actually something I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did. Like I said, I have no clue about the Half-Life world, the whatever, all the shit that happens. I know the ending of episode 2 and Half-Life 2 and everything that happens with Eli and Gordon and that thing in the warehouse. So I figured that most of my enjoyment with this game would actually be just messing around within the levels, the guns, the combat. But as the story progressed and the plot sort of furthers as you go on and on, I really found myself wanting to keep going and keep playing. But most of the time, I was actually limited due to the battery of the MetaQuest 3S, which I would say so far that's about the only bad part is the battery, and the resolution I've heard is not as good as the 3. So I guess those are maybe like two small negatives that I would have. In each of these levels that you're going to be exploring, there's about 12 different chapters, I believe, and each has its own sort of different vibe, layout. Some of them will have you connecting power cables, some of them will have you moving around a ball like you're Tony Stark. Then each of these is going to have some tense combat encounters with different enemy types, different ways for you to go about them, and different scenarios. This game manages to strike a balance at times from being an action shooter to a horror game at the flip of a switch. Sometimes you're in a gunfight, you panic, forget to slide the rack back on the pistol or the shotty, then you swap to your other gun and then you're out of ammo. And then when you go to reload, you forget, okay, you have to actually kind of let the chamber out. It's a little button, you have to eject the mag, then you have to slide it in. It's all these moments that you just take for granted in other games because it does it for you. But in this, you actually have to do each of those every little individual moments, which it's great, but holy shit, is it stressful in some of those moments. And I also haven't even touched the modding portion of the game. That's not something I think I'm going to check out just yet, but I do want to down the line. But this modded portion basically allows for players to make their own levels, layouts. It's all really cool to see. Some 5 years later, people are still putting time and effort into these. So maybe down the line, I've heard there's a really cool like John Wick simulator one that I can try. So that I think might be on my list next. And there's probably so much more that I'm missing and not talking about, but I did just want to cover, I guess, like the broad strokes and the broad themes that I liked of the game. The story I thought was great. The gameplay I thought was fun. The visuals I thought were awesome. I do think that this being my first VR game is a hell of a choice, I would say. And I gotta say, shout out to my boy Dion for recommending and putting me on this game because it's easily worth the playthrough. You're able to get immersed into a world with a great story, jaw-dropping visuals, like I said, and some pretty challenging combat at times. Opening up a drawer with my pistol because I don't want to reach down, hiding in a dumpster, closing the lid on myself to hide in it, or I can take a cone, put it on my head, or I can take a helmet, hat, put it on my head and wear it around. This is all just silly shit, but it's part of what makes this game so fun and enjoyable in my eyes. As an entire package, I do think Half Life Alyx is well worth a pickup in 2025, especially if you can get on sale like I did for 20 bucks. I know this video is a lot shorter and maybe looks a little weird because this is my first time recording a VR game. So please let me know what you think down below. I just want to talk about this game a little bit and just say I think it's fucking awesome and you should play it. I hope you all are having a great start to your 2025. Let me know down below if you've played Half-Life Alyx. What do you think of the game? Also, what other games would you recommend that I try out next in VR? Beat Saber, Blade and Sorcery, and Metro VR are a couple that I'm eyeing right now after Arkham Shadows, so let me know down below. And as always, if you did make it this far, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day. And this has been my review for Half Life Alyx. Thank you for watching.